Hey, get your small dick
Hey,
over
you
here.
fat, bald, dickless fuck. You want to be able to fuck women and be worthy of something in your life for once? What up, fuckers? How you doing? You okay? Welcome to another episode of Guys We Fcked.
It's the Anti-Slut Shaming Podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show.
And if you haven't followed Guys We Fcked on the Apple Podcast app, do that. And if you haven't left a review, we're reading all of them and we really appreciate it. They've slowed down because we stopped bullying you into writing reviews, so we're going to do that again. Yeah. But instead of bullying you, we'll read one recent review that we really liked.
And try to one-up it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you can't.
Be better
Maybe
than
you're
this.
not a good writer, you fucking pussy.
Oh, Corinne being all Corinne.
It's a challenge.
Oh, I like this review. Often imitated but never duplicated. 5 stars. The OG sex relationship podcast that has been with me longer than every boyfriend and many friends. The voices of these women have been a comforting constant in my life. I found them in college and I'm 28 now. And we raised you, girl. Yes. Though I don't always agree with Corinne and Krystyna, I appreciate their insight, the way that they can bring humor to serious conversations and the way they made me think and make small tweaks to my life. It doesn't feel heavy or like you need to overhaul your entire life. I didn't subscribe to Luminary at first, but I realized that was dumb, and now I do.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
That's a Cinderella story if ever I heard one.
Yeah, and then this fucking person just said, great show until they started talking about politics. Hey, dipshit, we stopped talking about politics. And also, too, I would love to not talk about Roe v. Wade, but if the government wasn't trying to take away our goddamn rights, then yeah, I wouldn't talk about it.
Well,
so,
if that's what that person, I'm sure, means by politics, then that's insane because that's, I mean, the whole issue with Roe v. Wade is that your body shouldn't be politicized in the first place.
Exactly.
So to tell us we shouldn't be talking about politics, give me your address.
Yeah, suck my clit. Suck my clit.
Send me your address. Let's see how that goes.
I'll bring my clit over to your address. You could suck it. Love you. So yeah, rate and review us on iTunes.
If you want to email us a problem, a story, an issue, a question, a query, it's going to go to sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. Make that subject line interesting so Isabella pulls it.
Yeah.
This says OnlyFans only hater.
Ooh.
Hi, ladies. I'm an OG listener. I have even had a story read by you two in the past when you were exclusively on Luminary. You told my story about me starting a relationship and realizing I had a tampon stuck in me for 2 months.
Smells delicious.
You're lucky to be alive. Anyways,
And have your legs.
I have noticed you two have been discussing differences in what is seen as cheating or being too rigid in relationships. I recently wanted to write you two about something that has happened with me and my partner, which ties into this topic.
I love this topic.
My husband and I, yes, the guy I started dating in my tampon story, it didn't scare him away, got married about a year ago. We are both 29 years old and have been together since we were 22. We were friends for 4 years during undergrad, during our slut phases, and eventually developed into the monogamous relationship that we have now. We knew each other as individuals and then came together, which has allowed us to be very open, trusting with minimal jealousy. I like a good flirt while I'm at the bar, and he equally enjoys attention from others. We have never opened up our relationship and have no plans to be open, but I am saying this all to emphasize that rumination on jealousy / crossing boundaries has never been a real concern. We love the idea of one another going into strip clubs, both together and individually, watching porn and appreciating public hotties together.
I love that.
Oh God, that reminds me of this TV show I watched yesterday when regular looking people had sex and I almost had to turn it off.
Oh my God. It reminds me of a great ass I saw the other week that I can't forget.
Those regular people having sex.
It was rough.
I don't want to see that. Ew.
It was rough. Don't eat while you're watching Easy on Netflix. However, something recently happened that I know it's me, I don't care, that I can't seem to shake. I was using his phone to access an email when I noticed a ton of emails from OnlyFans. Okay.
You were using his phone to
doesn't make
access
sense.
an email. I call bullshit right on that detail.
I know I'm always using someone else's phone to access emails.
Girl, we're women. Our spidey senses go off with this shit.
This is ridiculous. I just assumed he was watching porn and doesn't cross my mind it's a concern. However, the messages were from women that he subscribes to who messaged him repeatedly. I fully recognize he is not getting super personal message from these women.
I mean,
and they are likely to copy and paste to all of their clients.
Oh, I have a lot to
Yeah, but men fall for that shit because they want to.
I was like, Mike has that archive.
I'm ready.
I did some more snooping, I know, but I can't say I'm ashamed. You shouldn't be ashamed. You should just know that you're going to get bad news.
Yeah.
And saw him responding to their messages with general, those pics are so hot, etc.
Yeah.
The reaction I felt in my body, the sink of my stomach, was one I couldn't ignore. Even though rationally I know this is not an intimate connection, but rather a means to an end for both him and the content provider, it still hurts me to imagine him having a specific selected woman he is communicating with to fulfill him at times. I felt consumed by this and was even angry at myself for not being the cool wife and letting it go because we are so trusting of one another. My ultimate question to you two is, I agree with your general statements that sex work is not cheating, and I always want to allow my husband to have his own sexual identity apart from me, as I want that for myself. But the idea of him messaging with someone he personally subscribes to has continued to bother me. I want to be supportive of all sex work. Can I have both? Is this something I should suck up and just manage on my own? Should I respect my physical reaction, just realize I can't be as carefree with this stuff as I want? When does the boundary cross, and how can you honor it without being too restrictive of the other person? By the way, I mentioned all of this to him. Oh, so he knows. You ruined this guy's sex life, man. And he said he deleted everything with no hesitation.
What?
Yeah, he just put another folder. Come on. But him saying doing that didn't make me feel any better. Maybe
Right.
now I am stuck in jealousy. You created a problem for yourself. But rather, I am not stuck in jealousy, but rather self-judgment at this point. Anyways, love you both and all that you do. Thanks for listening. Here's a pic of us at our wedding last year. Isabel didn't include that, but that's fine. I'll just imagine it in my head.
You know, when feelings come up, it doesn't mean that they're indicative of the situation, right? So it's like we can have a jealousy feeling come up, and it logically we can know that this type of situation is not one that we logically feel jealous of, but then the feeling could come up anyway. In which case that has nothing, like that's you having to like figure that out for yourself. Like usually maybe there's something in you or a part of you that feels unworthy. I understand. I gotta say, I really do understand the idea of my boyfriend. I think it's because I'm in a relationship, but it's newer. So if he was doing this at the beginning, I'd be like, oh, come on. But I could still imagine it kind of hurting my feelings and basically having the same reaction that you did. Like, this is on me. I need to figure this out. How? I would just have a conversation with him about it of like, why, what about it? What about this makes you feel uncomfortable? It seems like the one-on-one attention, but go deeper. See if you can go deeper than that and figure out what is it poking at inside of you that that was lying dormant.
Yeah. And then, so, I mean, I think the thing that you're really struggling with right now is this like concept of being the cool wife. Once you're a wife, you're not cool anymore.
Yes. Yep.
What?
Talk about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I need to transition at this point. Yeah. So like, okay. So what you kind of trade in when you're a wife is your coolness and like, I don't want to say your sexiness, but like your new sexiness.
Yeah, you're not the hot fuck toy anymore.
Yeah, and like that's what you're trading in, but like that's the Madonna whore complex right there.
I mean,
that we're going into.
On the guy though?
No. Men are not different. We'll talk about that in a second. I've really nailed it down this week. Spent hours thinking. And so I mean, number one, I would argue that you already kind of like soured his independent sexual relationship with himself, that you were like, I don't want to sour it, but then you're like, I don't want to sour it, but also like I'm hurting right now and that's more important. That's basically what you said, and that's okay and that's fine. And you're in a marriage, and this is one of them. As I read these letters, this is one of the many reasons why I'm like, I would get through maybe a week of a marriage because already I'm fucking out. I'm annoyed. You looked at my shit. I'm out. Yeah. So he was really receptive to what you said.
Yeah.
Which is almost amazing. Do I believe that he actually deleted everything permanently? No. Of course not. But he did it to appease you. And that's kind of what, I gotta say, that's kind of all you deserved in the moment because you snooped. Yep. And so he went above and beyond in his role to you right now. So what you're grappling with right now is, you said you think it's a little bit more self-judgment than jealousy. And I agree with you. Like, you don't have to be cool. You don't have to be cool, calm, and collected in your soul. But I think what you do need to do is stop involving him in it right now, because he didn't do anything wrong.
This isn't you.
And if in the constraints of the marriage that you two have agreed on, OnlyFans is off the table, that should have been discussed already. We live in an internet sex work world. Why was this not discussed already? And maybe it's because you thought, I didn't think it could happen to me. I didn't think that he would ever want to look at another pussy besides mine. He does. And I don't even like pussies, and I want to look at multiple pussies. And so I think now it's like, this is a relationship that you kind of work on with yourself, with a therapist, talk it through with maybe other girlfriends, depending on your level of comfort with your friends. But I would say we don't need to talk this into the ground with him anymore. He was so receptive initially. And like, if you really mean what you say about like wanting to, like, we don't need it. This is like when your like mom walks in on you masturbating and then wants to have like a sit down talk with you about like masturbating. Ugh. You ruined the masturbating.
Yeah.
Okay. Just let him have this. You already talked about it enough. He really isn't doing anything wrong. If you do think he's doing something wrong, that's a whole other conversation to have and to add to your marriage. I know you guys I know you like said in the letter, like, we had time to like become our own people. No, you didn't. You started dating when you were 22. What are you talking about? You didn't. Like, I know you you had like a little slut phase on and off, but like the phases that you will go through your life, you're not even out of your 20s. There's so many more phases that you will go through. I was reading something yesterday and it said that your 20s are a car crash and then your 30s and your 40s are a car wash. Okay. You haven't even entered the car wash. You're still in the car crash, and fuck, the car keeps crashing. Holy shit! And this isn't even that bad of a crash.
You can't drive, lady.
This is a dent.
This isn't even
a dent in your bumper.
Even that bad of a crash.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like a time to keep on working through your relationship with yourself, and like he may very well think of these women as like real women that he's interacting with, because men aren't that smart, and that's why OnlyFans works.
I wonder if like a lot of women. I think if I'm putting myself in your shoes, like why would this bother me? Like, what would reasons be that I would be bothered? And part of one thing that came up for me, and I don't know if this is true for you, writer, but is that I would be mad at myself for not seeking out my own sexual pleasure independently the way that he is doing. Like, I wonder if that's what it is. So it's like a fairness kind of thing. Even though you're married, you're a fucking team. Are you married?
Yeah, they're married.
You're cool
for a year.
You're a team. You're not competing against each other. However, I think sometimes if you're not seeking out your own sexual gratification not outside of the marriage, but independently, as you do when you're in a committed relationship, as men always do, women can do that too. So maybe there's a little bit of that, something to ponder.
Yeah, the cool girl doesn't get married, and if she does, she gets divorced. I gotta be honest.
I was just gonna ask, what is a cool wife? What is that?
A single lady.
Yeah, a cool wife is a woman with no husband.
Yeah, and I talk about this. And like, when we say cool girl, it doesn't mean like you're actually a cool hip. It means like
you're not gonna complain when he does something fucked up.
I'm the cool girl, and that's why I'll probably never get married. So everyone will remember me as like the girl who the girl who came in and fucked up their life and like took them for a spin for a couple months. But that's not the girl you bring home to your mom. That's not the girl that you want to spend Christmas with. And that's fine, because I don't want to be that. Like if I have to be not the cool girl anymore, I'd rather be the drunk girl, honestly.
Drunk girl's fun.
But it's like, it's a choice that we make because of the way the society is set up. And I think maybe eventually that will change, but right now it's still so new. It's not different yet, because we still expect like these weird gender norm roles out of people.
Can I give the audience a hard truth?
Oh.
Sure. We love your hard truth.
Okay, and it's based off of this email, but just in relation to not even necessarily OnlyFans, but sort of porn in general.
Yeah.
When you get married to a guy, and I'm sure this goes the other way for women as well. When you get married to a guy, he's not thinking about you when he masturbates.
Oh, of course not.
Right.
And if that's something
gosh, if anybody still thinks that.
Right.
Aw.
That's the thing. So that's the question.
I was like 16 when I last thought that.
I can understand.
You're going to masturbate to Lindsay Lohan's boobies and not my boobies?
Right. So that's the thing. If you're willing to I understand that the OnlyFans component of messaging somebody back sort of feels like texting somebody somebody that, but he's never going to have access to
But it's like the
these
perfect
people.
alternative to actually cheating because you're hiring a sex worker, you're doing it the right way, and it's titillating, and you can't get that same titillation with somebody you've been with for a long time.
And there is zero chance of this man meeting any of these women and sleeping with them. Like it's purely transactional.
Even Crystalia didn't really meet up with the people when he DMs with them. So your husband
You're fine.
Is certainly not meeting up with him.
Right.
Yeah.
With them, you know?
So I don't know. I just think that I think men probably have to keep that in mind too, that when their wives or girlfriends masturbate, that they're probably thinking about some other guy. I think that we all probably do it. But
the main point of life is that, and this has taken me years to learn, you're not special. No one's special. No one is in like any relationship that you have. They've called someone else that nickname before. They've taken them to that place, and that is that's been the hardest truth about relationships for me to digest. But it's so true.
I wonder if anybody is ever in it for the person versus I was thinking about what you were saying last week, Corinne, about like you're in it for the particular person, whereas across the board for the most part, guys are in it just to have a partner,
right?
But I was thinking about all my relationships, and I'm like, yeah, the specific person, I guess, but the specific person I dated wasn't always the best. I just think that I needed comfort.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not, and it's also like, sometimes it is what you need. It depends, and that's why I suffer a lot in relationships, because when you come in not really needing anything, but also
needing and not needing,
but also willing to give very little, you're not going to have a successful relationship. Obviously, True. I was really trying to think about this like this week. It's like, so what is it? I get annoyed because, it's like I want people to just like me for me, but it's like, really, what am I giving them? What's the point of putting up with me for the whole time? It's like, I mean, like if you're someone
considerate and you're extremely considerate. I don't know if you carry these traits over to your boyfriend, but as a friend, you're very considerate. You're very thoughtful. You remember things that are so tiny details.
That's because you haven't drained me,
Wow, I haven't?
No.
Jeez.
No, you haven't drained me.
You got a big well, girl. Thanks.
Sorry. There's reciprocity in our relationship, which I think is what's lacking from a lot of heterosexual relationships, you know? Because
that's the jetpack that can make you keep going is reciprocity.
Right. And I mean, it's interesting because our guests that are coming on the show today, we were talking on their Instagram, they were talking about overgiving, like overfunctioning and underfunctioning.
Yeah.
And it's a male therapist and a female therapist, and they're in a heterosexual relationship. And he starts the video out by saying like, I'm usually underfunctioning. And I go, oh, the man's underfunctioning? You don't say, what a wild, let's alert the New York Times.
I might be I'm one of the few female underfunctioners.
Well,
I get stressed, I just pass out like a goat.
That's like, you'll under function in like work setting, but you over function in emotional settings. Yeah. So in that way, I think we even each other out, because like if I get pissed, I'm just leaving. I'm leaving the meeting. I'm leaving the podcast.
Right,
I'm not sitting here anymore. I'm not putting up with this. It's not happening.
Right.
But I'll overfunction in the workplace.
Right.
And I think that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
Because you need a lot of times in meetings you do need to finish them. But I'm not.
That's all right. I got you, girl.
I'm not finishing.
I got you, girl. Happy to do that.
Done. So yeah. Anyway, go look at that marriage. No, I'm sure it's fine.
You're gonna be fine. Deal with the feelings. They're coming from somewhere, and I think that a lot of people, as much as we say like I love myself, when something like this comes up, that pokes at possibly something. You can even have 1/10 of an I don't deserve this, or I'm not worthy, or oh he doesn't. I think if your go-to is oh he's not only attracted to me, that says deep down there's still something work that you have to do about convincing yourself or knowing that you are enough. It's fine, and it's also unrealistic for a person to be attracted to one person for the rest of their life.
And honestly, good on him for deleting that stuff. If he actually
deleting that stuff.
Deleting
for naming
air quotes
it taxes on his laptop.
Miscellaneous documents.
But
spam too.
A folder that says "Do not open" under any circumstances.
Also spam.
But I think that is that's something like that will be helpful, but also hurtful to you, especially as a woman. Is kind of finally digesting this like hard, chewy plate of food that says I am not special.
Right.
And so yes, you are not unique or special, but I think what then will make you stand out from the other people that he's been with is the time that you guys have spent together and what you build together. So that's what eventually gives someone the one up on someone else. But other than that, it's like not. And like for me, like my whole existence is about being unique and being like very much who I am and having a strong sense of self. And when those things aren't appreciated, it's like, well, no wonder I don't like relationships. That's my whole thing. That's my whole existence. Where a lot of other people, it's like they love nurturing and giving and, having a sense of companionship. To those things I say, bleck, bleck, bleck.
To those things I say,
no, gimme. No, thank you.
Guys, you can hear us in other places other than Guys We Fucked. Where else can we check you out, Corinne?
I have a show called Without a Country with comedian Shane Smith. It's on the Gas Digital Network, but you can watch it for free every week on YouTube. It comes out on Saturdays. We roast the news. Midterms are coming up in November. We're going to do a special show in the New York Comedy Festival for that. So stay the fuck tuned. Oh, and also we have a New York Comedy Festival show that we should promote.
Oh, yeah, promote that.
That we don't even have do we even have a ticket link for it?
Do we have a date?
Yeah, we do. Rick gave it to us, and it is not here. It's sometime in November. How did I write it?
The New York Comedy Festival is always such a fun event.
Okay, so it's Thursday, Thursday, November 10th.
What time?
10:30 p.m. at the Midnight Theater. Never heard of it, never been to it, but I'm sure it's a great place.
We're doing a live Guys We Fucked.
Yeah, we're doing a live recording of Guys We Fucked. That's something we kind of only do for festivals. So come on down for that.
Fun.
I don't know if the tickets are up yet. I mean, they just announced the lineup for the New York Comedy Festival. So
within the last day or something.
Yeah. So that'll be up soon. You'll hear about it.
And you can also subscribe if you would like to my patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson, where you can get new episodes of The Voices in Our Heads. That's my solo podcast. You get 1 to 2 a month, and also 3 Mondays out of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go on Zoom with you, and we all have like group therapy where we talk about stuff, and it's been really eye-opening and incredible to facilitate. And I'm using therapy in quotes, Chad, because I'm not a licensed therapist, so let's call it group lamenting. But patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson, $5 a month, you can hang out with me 3 times a month. So it's been really, really, really wonderful to see you guys every week. So do that, and then follow us on all the social media. It's Guys We Fucked without the U and fucked on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch our special day and a ton of other free content, as well as TikTok. And then personally, I'm at Krystyna Hutch.
I'm at Philanthropy Gal on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And we also have, if you didn't hear already, we did a YouTube live stream last week, and that is up on our YouTube channel for you to check out. Again, those live streams are exclusive to YouTube, so either tune in live and participate in the chat, which you do need to click subscribe on YouTube to participate in that chat, or you can watch it after if the time doesn't work for you, and we'll be doing one of those every month.
One quick question I just wanted to pose to the listeners just for next week. I got a lot of feedback when I was talking about how I was watching the Woodstock 99 documentary and I felt very uncomfortable when the girls are getting her boobs touched and I went to masturbate to it, and I was like, ugh, that's weird. And this is Guys We Fucked is a show where we could talk about things that make us horny and also uncomfortable at the same time. It's a space that we can do that and have the conversation. So I wanted to pose to the listeners, what is something that you've masturbated to? You could we don't have to say your name if it's fucked up, but that you felt weird about. I'm be curious. Sorry about last night's show at gmail.com. Mike, which one is
Mike thought of it immediately.
Because I know the moment immediately. I was just perusing Pornhub once and I found
at least it was supposed to be. It was pornographic.
Yeah, it was pornographic. But I jerked off once to a cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was
Family Guy?
No, it was like Wonder Woman getting fucked.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
People love cartoon porn.
It's dirty. It felt like not.
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah. I didn't like it.
I get it. Because sometimes when you go to watch a porn and they show you a little preview of porn beforehand, I've seen some of the animated ones. They weren't necessarily like Family Guy style cartoons. They were like animated, like more like Avatar.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, those titties look good.
Yeah,
shit, I could totally see liking that.
It's just weird.
It felt gross.
Yeah, it was
weirds
Wonder
me
Woman.
out.
She's a hero.
It weirds me out.
She's like a
hero.
And I just like watched
the respect. The respect, Mike.
Yeah, it was
you
just
have too
very
much
strange. It was just so weird to me. I tried it once because I was just like before I actually did it, I was like, this could be kind of hot. It's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then as I was watching it, I was like, this just feels wrong. She should be like kicking somebody's ass, not getting fucked by whoever it was, it was just
her
so
kryptonite
weird, man.
is dick.
Yeah. So yeah, that made me uncomfortable.
Aw, that's a cute one.
Yeah.
There was a Titanic mini series that Tim Curry was the villain in, and he played a rapist. And I didn't masturbate to it because I wasn't masturbating yet at this time in my life. But God, that made me horny.
Tim Curry makes me so
he's
horny.
he's Tim. No one does
phenomenal
it for me.
performer.
British accent,
best, yeah.
fucking charming intelligent, amazingly
Handsome.
talented,
So funny.
curly brown hair. Curly
Is that
brown
too
hair.
Is that it? That's all you
is
need?
my thing.
Curly
No, like
brown
dark, like almost black, like Adrienne Grenier. Curly
he's hot.
black hair is like black, or like dark brown hair is like holy shit.
Wow, I didn't know that was
On
like
men.
a thing, a physical thing. for you.
Not a lot of men have curly hair.
Yeah.
Right.
And it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
How are you, Corinne?
I'm better than I was. I figured out what I was wrong. First, number one, as predicted, no one was able to answer. I basically asked an impossible question last week. Is any heterosexual man dating someone for who they are? I kind of knew that we were going to come up dry. I think we got like 3 emails and none really scratched the itch that I was looking to scratch.
Yeah.
But I knew that because I've been through, so I've been like, I don't know if you ever get to a point when you're stumping all your friends with the questions you're asking about life. You're stumping your therapist. You're stumping yourself. You're stumping your parents. You're stumping your brother. You can't find the answer online. Can't find a book about it. There is just no answer to the questions that you are asking. And so this has been something that I've been going through. And like, obviously there is a smug part of me that's like, pose a question that no one can fucking answer. So that makes me feel good. But obviously, huge existential crisis.
Yeah.
And so, yes, if this felt different than depression, and my therapist goes, it seems like you're going through some kind of a spiritual awakening. And so I kind of like Googled it a little bit. And I was like, oh, this is like an existential crisis. Like commonly, I guess you could refer to it as a midlife crisis. Although what I am going through, only like 30% of people get to. Thank you, enlightenment.
What exactly is it?
Well, it's like it's an existential crisis, but most people there's like 5 stages. I don't remember the names, and I'm not talking about like Carl Jung, like oral phallic, that kind of thing. There's like 5 like levels of enlightenment. Most people only make it to the 3rd. I think I'm moving on faster because basically I don't have that like want to get married and have kids, so then you just skip to the next one. But a lot of people kind of like stay in that one where they're just like providing for their family. And there's nothing against that. Honestly, you're probably gonna have a much better life and be a lot happier and cry a lot less.
Yeah.
So 70% of people end at that 3rd one, and then 30% of people go on to these last 2. I can only imagine what this next one is like based on this current one. And also like having a midlife crisis. I'm turning 37 this week, so having a midlife crisis actually not crazy. I mean, that means I'll die when I'm 74, and can't wait. Honestly, speed it up. I'll take 60s. And I'm just so over it. And so I was like, I found this very interesting article that, it's just some lady basically wrote, some coaching with Bev Janish or whatever. Who the fuck knows what she's going through? Bev's sitting in the field.
If you're a coach, you're probably going through a lot.
But, she was talking about this client that she had that was experiencing the inner conflict and turmoil that often accompanies the process of a spiritual awakening and a transition that is referred to as dark night of the soul, which you can read more about on your own. There's some interesting quotes in here. It says the reason people awaken is because they have finally stopped agreeing to things that insult their soul, which I absolutely love. I'm not someone who really allows things into my life that insult my soul very often. But of course, there's no one who has a foolproof barrier for things that insult their soul. We are members of a absolutely disgusting society.
Yeah.
So of course we do. But it also talks a lot about how a very high percentage of people go on antidepressants, especially women, by the age that I am at in America, and how it actually can mute this transition that you're trying to go through. And so it says, like, what if the conditions we pathologize and diagnose as depression is sometimes actually spiritual hunger, a normal and genetically derived part of human development that is unhealthy to muffle or deny. I don't doubt the existence of clinical depression or that antidepressants help many people. But what I do question is that, like, if so many people are on it, then it's not a problem with our brains. It's a problem with the society that we live in and the way that we're exploring ourselves. Obviously, I mean, this is not like, it doesn't take a fucking genius to figure this out, but a lot of you not trying. So I don't know.
Yeah, no. When I was going through that shit, I was like, man, if a doctor would absolutely medicate me, but that is the worst thing that you could do. I need to fucking get this out. You need to not mute it. And the antidepressants are a Band-Aid of some sort. Like, there is something, obviously chemical imbalance can be helpful to get that corrected, but you also have to do that inner work.
Right. Because I think this is different than what you were going through. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in your head. I think this is all, I'm a little older. I think this is like a different part of my life. Yeah. Because it's dealing with like the future rather than like the past.
Yeah.
And so I think I was watching some stuff, reading some stuff. I read this, I watched this thing that was like about Ram Dass, and I love Ram Dass, and I know that's when you've really gone off the edge when you start, reading Ram Dass. I get it. But in it, he said, suffering is showing where your mind is still clinging. And I thought that was a really interesting bit because, there is so much suffering. Human existence is suffering. It's constant. It's not going away. I know there's a lot of talk, especially in doing like a news show weekly about like, how can there be, a God, or how can we exist in a world? How can we find happiness when there is so much human suffering? And they basically describe like, that you need to exist on two planes simultaneously. So you're existing on the plane where you acknowledge that human suffering is there and it's a part of life, but you're also existing on the plane where you're saying, but that is a necessary part of life, and any suffering that people are experiencing, no matter how bad it seems, there is a reason why they are going through that. And I think obviously you have to kind of believe in things like past lives, etc. Otherwise, that's going to be like a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, I do, and I didn't have to convince myself. I just do. And I think a lot of times we see people suffer in the same way repeatedly because there's a lesson that they need to learn that they're not learning, right? Okay, so it's like, for me, obviously, people keep dying, or I keep having like, people leaving my life in a way that doesn't sit well with me, whether it be like a breakup that I didn't like the way it went, or like people completely change who they are in the midst of a relationship. So even if they're leaving just mentally, it's still like they're leaving. So why are these people leaving? And I think, I think part of it is me just digesting kind of like, there's no one person that I need in my life that will change the path that my life is going on, or that will really make my life any better than it was going to be to begin with. It could, and I think it's like a lot of that is also swallowing the way men are going through relationships. So we've been talking a lot about the way men go through relationships, and I think if we as women kind of realize that it's not the person, it's not that specific person, it's just like a little thing, like a couple ingredients that we need for our life, I think we would be better off. And it's not romantic, and it's not fun, and it's not exciting. But if you're being honest about what it is, you can enjoy it more. Yeah. And then when you hear any relationship expert talk about relationships, it sounds like they're hiring for a job. It doesn't sound romantic at all. Like, we think relationships are more special than they are because we are mostly fed the experience of relationship through the eyes of artists, right? The most dramatic fucking people in the world.
Artists who were mostly not loved as kids.
Like even the fact that I'm having this conversation with you guys right now, like that this is, most people listening probably spent the weekend hanging out with their friends. I dissected the meaning of life and meditated on what it means to have the human experience. Like, that's not normal, That's not a normal, well, you're not normal either because you're an artist.
It's not normal.
Yeah, it's not a fucking normal thing.
So.
No one's doing it.
We live in such a bubble here.
No one's doing that.
This is a bubble.
That's wild to me. Why wouldn't you do that, you guys?
Yeah.
You could figure shit out, make life better or more interesting for yourself.
People don't do that.
And so I literally sat in my bed and almost like got myself into a meditative state. And, because I want to talk about this, as it relates to relationships, not just like my entire life. Because I mean, when I say feel like I have no purpose, no meaning, nothing I do means anything right now, I mean that and I'm okay with it. But as far as like this podcast, stand-up comedy, anything, nothing means nothing to me, does not just right now, not always. And hopefully we will change that, but we don't know. But no effect. No, what was the purpose of this? Why am I doing this? And so I think heterosexual women are looking at relationships in entirely the wrong way, especially women who are not looking to be married, and even more so women who aren't looking to have children, because relationships and partnerships really should feel more like hiring someone for a job. And like I said, that's the way men do it. Who will have my dinner, clean my laundry, take care of my children? And it seems like so shitty when I say it that way, but I was like, that's why they figured it out, And then I was thinking of like, okay, so I'm up for the job of, wife. I'm not going to hire me either, because I'm more fun and more interesting, but I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And that's not how a relationship functions. You don't hire the person who's going to do whatever the hell they want. We are overthinking the role of girlfriend or wife, etc. so much. We are basically we're looking to fill a position that doesn't exist when we create this concept of soulmate. It doesn't exist. You just think in your head, I'm looking to fill the role of husband, of partner, of dad, of whatever it is. And I think that's why in relationship structures, if you meet a really good man, he probably has a really good wife. If you meet a really good woman, she's probably single. 100%.
100%.
And then even good women who we see, and when I say good women, I mean excellent, achieving, special women. I don't mean, that's what my description of it. And achieving can be anyway. Achieving can mean you raise amazing kids. Achieving can mean you win the Nobel Prize. And women often become passive when they fall in love because they had to. So men will say, a lot of times you hear this on like man podcasts, men will say it's because she calmed down because she got a man. But women are highly intelligent creatures. She didn't calm down because she got a man. She calmed down because she knows
you have to worry.
That's what she has to do to keep what she wants. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with knowing strategically how you need to behave to keep what you want, as long as you're aware of, as Dan Savage says, price of admission. And I was thinking of like celebrity examples of this. Women who tamed themselves when they got in a relationship. Two primary examples for me: Kim Kardashian when she was with Kanye, Megan Fox now that she's with Machine Gun Kelly. These were really out there women, sexual, taking control of it. When they got into these specific relationships, light dimmed immediately. Kim Kardashian very open about the fact that Kanye dressed her, and then we see online as soon as she started dating Pete Davidson again, it's kind of back to old Kim, the Kim that I fucking missed for sure. She's not mom Kim, she's not oatmeal on your chin Kim, she's titty in your face Kim. That's the Kim I liked. Okay,
in your face.
The only example of like a very famous celebrity that I could find who breaks is the exception to that rule is Katy Perry. So Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, I do think have a very, very even relationship, which is interesting because they're both famous, but Katy Perry is substantially more famous.
Well, and Orlando seems to be very supportive of her fame.
Yeah, and Katy has a lot of mental health issues.
Yeah.
And he's been very supportive through that.
Russell was an example. Russell and Katy were an example.
Right.
Woo, that girl dimmed her light in that documentary.
Russell has way too much ego, which is so funny because he's someone who's always talking like, namaste, right. Sorry to throw shade on a fellow luminary person. And I have nothing against Russell Brand. I'm a fan of his. I was not a fan of how he was fucking acting that relationship though. But that was a Katy Perry documentary. So obviously it's edited to make Katy Perry look good.
Yeah.
And I'll take that into account.
Poor Katy.
But interesting thing about that is Katy and Orlando are in couples therapy. Katy and Orlando broke up for a year during the relationship. I think that's what that song is like. Never really over till I, that's over that one. That song's about that. And then also they were both married before. And I think
you learn a lot of lessons.
I think a lot of times on your second marriage, you're going to do just like a better job. You're going to know what you need out of it. You're going to know what you're looking for in a partner. And maybe by that second marriage, you are looking for an individual person. I don't know the answer to that.
Give me that divorce dad.
But yeah, and then again, that kind of like sent me down a rabbit hole of this concept of like powerful women often dating losers, and that's a thing that we hear people talk about. People have certainly accused me of that. I've accused other people of that. Our friends and family are like, "Why is this excellent, amazing woman so often dating losers?" My friend actually texted me about that, about a famous person that he found out was like, it's actually a relationship that I liked. So it's funny that he pointed it out. Avril Lavigne and Mod Sun, I'll just shout them out, whatever. And I was like, I think Mod Sun is actually pretty cool. Is he trying to, does he benefit and get more famous from dating Avril Lavigne? Sure. But, again, if we start thinking of this as the business exchange that it really is.
That it was meant to be this whole time.
Yeah. And again, I didn't even go through the research of this, but it's just like, when did the concept of soulmate arise? Like, what is the purpose of marriage? Like, why did marriage start? All these things are like, it came so that society could be better structured. That's why, in early, Greek and Roman times, a lot more common to be non-monogamous. The structure of monogamy is so that the home life functions, and I'm sure somehow ties into capitalism. Yeah, and then the problem. So everyone's like, you're a powerful woman. Why are you dating these fucking losers? But a loser in the context of society often makes a really nice mate in the context of a relationship with a powerful, specifically woman, man, it doesn't matter. And so I think it's like, if you say, why am I dating a loser? What do you mean by loser? Because to me, I think...
Yeah, that is a good question.
People are saying loser like, it's someone who, hasn't gone that far in their career, maybe failed at their career even, maybe failed at their fucking dreams. That person to me, loser by the societal standards for a man.
They went after their dream.
But not a loser because they've been through something. They've experienced failure. They know what it takes. They've been a little bit humbled.
Yeah.
And they are ready to be there for me in a relationship. Because what's worse? A man who tried and failed and is now a loser, or a woman who never tried at all and just backed up a man and is considered a winner because she's a wife. To me, the wife is the bigger loser. You never even tried. You never even tried.
According to the BBC, although the concept of soulmate might have existed for thousands of years, the actual term was probably only introduced in the 19th century. The first recorded use is in 1822 in a letter written by poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Quote, "To be happy in married life, you must have a soulmate," he wrote.
Yeah.
Coleridge's own love life was unhappy. He married mostly due to social pressure and spent most of the union apart from his wife before they eventually separated for good. Oh, that's why he wrote about soulmates, because he didn't have one.
What? And also, it's what he was longing for. And also, the fact that the first recorded use was only in 1822, that's so modern.
Yeah.
That's wildly
Very
modern.
Yeah, it is.
Wildly modern.
Speaking of wildly modern, I don't know. I guess our guests are.
I think they're pretty modern.
Yeah.
Yes. So she. I was like, where's the names? She is the host of the podcast Cheaper Than Therapy, and he is the host of the Angry Therapist podcast. Together as a therapist power couple, they're creators of the podcast series It's Not Me, It's You. That's also the name of their book. I hope that's correct information, because is that a podcast series too?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll edit it out if it's not.
Please welcome to the show, John Kim and Vanessa Bennett.
Okay, we are here with Vanessa Bennett and John Kim. You guys are a couple. You're relationship experts. You have a book called It's Not Me, It's You.
You're a real therapist too.
Right. True. And you got credentials, something that we don't have.
Yeah.
And big student loans as well.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I love the tagline, break the blame cycle, better relationship. Blaming is so fun. It feels so good.
In the moment.
How do you replace it? Exactly. It never is beneficial. It's never, but when you get hurt, a lot of times you just want to hurt back. That kind of track is just so not beneficial and conducive for a relationship. But then in my head, I'm like, well, what do you replace that with? You got to replace it with something else that feels also good.
Ooh.
Ownership.
Ooh.
Which is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Blaming,
short-term gain versus long-term gain.
Yeah. And blaming's the, always, for most people, it's the knee-jerk. It's the default. It's what we're used to. But also blaming, I think, stunts our own personal growth. I think our personal growth, I know we're just kind of diving right in, but when you own something is when you have the opportunity to actually learn something about yourself and grow.
Yeah.
So if you're just pointing fingers and blaming, you're stunting your own growth.
You're giving your power away because you're saying like you are the reason why I'm unhappy. Well, if that person is responsible for your happiness, then that's a shit life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Ugh.
Well, also too, I mean, I think when you say, what else do you get or what else can you get besides blaming? Like, give me something. This isn't the sexy thing, but there is something to be said for if both people come in not blaming, when you walk away from that fight, right? Like the depth that comes from that or the connection that can come from that can feel way better than that like instant crack cocaine feeling that the blaming gives you.
Yeah, that long term, putting in the work to like foster your connection and nurture it, it does. Oh, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first line on the back of the book that you just wrote is your relationship is more about you than your partner. And that's the first time I've ever been really interested in being in a relationship. like truly. Because that's the one thing that I've been in lots of relationships 5 years is my longest. It's not like I'm like a person who can't be in a relationship. But I feel like the most interesting thing about it and the thing that I fear that I'm missing if I'm not in one is growing more, more stuff coming to a level of self-actualization that I wouldn't achieve outside of it.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. I mean, you talk a lot about that in Single on Purpose too.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how this started. You were mentioning Panera Bread and A Broken Heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of where it starts, is usually the expiration of a relationship puts us on a journey. And then, us connecting kind of back to self, and then we find love again. So the process of our hearts getting broken, I think, is where we grow.
Yeah, I also think that maybe we're starting to break this misconception, but this idea that like you have to be single in order to do work on yourself and grow is also kind of dangerous, right? Like it's yes and there's a little bit of both. It's like you can learn a ton when you're alone, but you also learn when you're in partnership.
Oh my God,
right?
yeah.
And not just partnership romantically.
That person is going to poke at your insecurities, whether you want them to or
friends,
not.
family, kids. I mean, we're relational creatures, right? So any relationship is going to be a mirror back to us.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of work to be done alone, but there's also a lot of work to be done just mirroring from other people.
Yeah. And mirroring happens at such human beings need mirroring to happen to them from the time that they're infants.
For attachment,
it's wild how the few studies that have been done about how a baby needs to experience their parents experiencing joy just because they're happy. That's very specific. That's unconditional love too.
Yeah.
But the fact that is almost like a necessary component to be a healthy spiritual person is like, oh, none of us getting that.
Right. Well, isn't that the thing, right?
At least us that we grew up in this time, like the amount of things that we're comfortable talking about versus our parents. Oh my God, there's such a huge gap. And like my parents would never talk about a boundary.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I would say the word boundary to them and they're like, what are you talking about? Why? And they would like get offended that I'm sticking up for myself.
Well, it's like a generation of martyrs.
Yeah.
Right? And I do think
that's true.
now, I think we are a little bit in that helicopter parenting generation, which is going to have its own cup of tea to deal with, right? At the end of the day. But I when I work with other women as clients and myself, I mean, it is hard, but it's a constant reminder of like, I am going to show her that I am a whole self. Without her. I'm going to do things without her. She's going to know why and where I'm going. No, mommy's going out tonight with my friends who I love, and I'm going to spend time with them.
Yeah.
Even if you're upset, that's okay. She needs to see, like, we go to the gym and we're like, we're going to work out. We're going to the gym. You're staying with a babysitter. It's really important that they see you doing that because it's how they learn to take care of themselves, right?
Yeah, because all kids are kind of narcissistic, like just every kid,
are,
right? And so I imagine helicopter parenting would really create some terrible people.
I know.
Feeds into that.
It's interesting. I think the road forks at our generation. I say ours. I'm much older than you guys, but just throw me in there.
Not much.
How old are you?
Just
May I ask?
I'm 49.
Okay.
I should have said no. I'm 49 and 50 in Korea. They count the time you're in your mom's stomach.
Well, you are growing.
Well, that's why I live here. I'm 49. I'm younger here.
Nice. Loophole.
But yeah, I mean, when you compare, especially like me being Korean, my parents, grew up making their own shoes, war, poverty, the idea of like emotional intelligence.
Right.
That's
It's a luxury.
Luxury, right? The luxury.
Yeah,
of
they were
boundaries.
just. I mean, they're just trying to put Levi's on me and feed me and trying to make me American. So,
Simple tasks.
right, therapy, like it doesn't. But we're the generation that really like is going to change all of this. So it's really exciting to even have these conversations because yeah, they would be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the ability to like dig inside yourself and introspection. Like that's, I think that as much as we're rapidly evolving technologically speaking, emotional intelligence is getting crazy. And then you're seeing like the disparities between, like you see the disparities play out in the news of like with emotional intelligence, and you're like, oh, we were all once that.
Yes.
We were all once like, bang, bang, like just kind of cavemen.
Yeah.
Well, it's also because like we're the first generation to kind of really prioritize emotional intelligence and our feelings. That's why I think everyone's so unhappy. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course, the first round of people being like, why are things this way? I'm not happy, and like analyzing it. Of course, you're going to be unhappy.
But I would question: is everybody so unhappy, or has everybody kind of always been like that? It's just we're the first ones that are calling bullshit on it.
Right, exactly. Because that's why, like, when I said the word boundary to my dad, he's like, "Fucking excuse me," and I'm like, "All right, military dad."
Yeah. I mean, same with mine. Yeah.
Corinne and I are talking. Corinne was exploring this on the intro to this episode and last week a little bit. But do you guys work with couples with your therapy practice?
Both couples and individuals. Yeah.
So this mainly pertains to straight couples, but like we've rarely seen a straight couple where the woman was lucky to be with the guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the guy was just so exceptional, and the woman was like, wow, like every girlfriend that I have, their male partner is fine, but like the girlfriends I have are exceptional people. And I'm not just saying that because I'm closer to them than their partner. I'm saying like it's rare to find like, wow, she's dating a real special person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you see that in your practice?
Well, I mean, I also see that in pop psychology, right? Like if you think about like The King of Queens and like Family Guy and all the sitcoms we've ever seen, it's always like the kind of like bumbling idiot dude who like can't tie his own shoes, and then like the wife who's like hot and goes, and rolls her eyes.
Thanks for tying your shoes with your titties. That's
right.
great.
You know what I mean? And so I also think that we see that a lot, just like in psychology. But what do you think?
I mean, I think you're basically
from
saying,
the dude here.
I think you're basically saying men need to
step up their game.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's fair. I think
if they put as much time into like fixing their car or like, and I genuinely mean that. I talk about that on stage. I'm like, we all have a human brain. The human mind is capable. The human mind is responsible for New York City, for every great thing that you said, like for art, for culture, for all this stuff. Like use some of that human mind power on us, guys, because you're not, and it sucks.
Yes, and part of that is locker rooms. Part of that is
patriarchy.
It's not quote unquote masculine to talk about feelings or to go see a therapist,
Yeah.
So we're talking about, cars, and this is a generalization, but cars, muscles, motorcycles, whatever. But we don't in locker rooms say, hey, how was your therapy session?
Yeah.
What was that like? What did you learn about yourself?
Yeah.
Those conversations aren't happening.
Well, because men have been told that you can't, right? Which is a disservice to you all.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it kind of puts us all in the same, how do I say this? It's like, we're all in this together. It's like, I'm starting to look at men a lot differently, where I'm like, well, those men were raised by somebody, and a lot of those people were women.
Oh,
and it's
for
not
sure.
to blame the moms, because we're all in it together. But it's like, we can't just say, oh, it's the men. It's like, well, who are the men being raised by?
Right.
Like,
Well, and also, again, blaming isn't going to help.
Right.
So it's like,
we're
well, how do
all
you
in
fix
this
it?
society together. We're
Yeah.
all losing under this patriarchal structure,
Yeah.
And this is, I think you're starting to see it because it's being talked about more and more. This idea of like men needing to kind of step up.
Well, you're also seeing, and this is probably why you're hearing it, women tolerating less.
Yes.
We don't more have now to tolerate than before,
it anymore.
Right.
Because before it was just like, oh, just shut up and be whatever.
Be a wife.
A wife.
Be a wife or a good girlfriend.
And we needed men to survive, literally.
So now,
Right.
you guys don't need us, and so now there's.
I know, and that makes, I feel like that poses threats to some men, like just internally, whether they understand that's subconscious or consciously.
Yeah. There's a lot of shakeup happening.
Yeah, there is.
It's
We were living
scary,
in a
but
very
exciting.
interesting time, and it's like men don't think about how their behavior affects others in the way that women think about how their behavior affects
I think
others.
women overthink how their behavior
Yeah, I
affects
agree.
others, and
Yeah.
I say stop that. Another concept we've been talking about a lot on the show is getting past the need to be special. Because I've been working really hard. This is like a project I took under my wing. I think a lot of times, like female-hosted relationship shows, especially when you're primarily giving relationship advice to heterosexual couples. The advice women give other women is not based in the root of how it's not how men really think. It's basically like if you dressed up your female friend in a mustache, like how you would want your partner to be. It's just off. So, and I think one of the pros of being a female comedian is, I'm turning 37 this week. I have so many adult male friends who speak to me like I am not, a fuckable object, because either we've already had sex or they have no interest in having sex, which is nice, because then they're going to talk to me like a regular unfuckable person, and so we have this insight, and it's been very traumatic to me personally to hear how men are really speaking about women and how men see their relationships, but it's also been helpful to get me past this need to be special, which I have on two levels, one being a woman and number two being a performer. My whole existence is trying to be special and convincing myself that I am so special that people should pay money to see me talk. That's a crazy level. But I think because I used to be someone who it killed me if I saw a partner move on and call someone the same nickname that they used to call me. But in reality, most people are doing that. And most people, and we see it on social media, are taking the new girlfriend to the same vacation spot. So and I know you talked about this, John, how when it's so fucked up even to say it back to you, but you were talking in a workship about how when you met Vanessa, you were kind of ambivalent about the relationship, and you weren't oh my God, I have to be with this woman, but yet here you are many years later. So how do we get past the need to be special within ourselves? And then also what are we looking for if we're not looking for a special person?
Big question.
We talk about the misconception of the one and how we've been programmed that there's one person for you. And when you meet this person, you hear angels and the hair in the back of your neck goes up. And we've actually both experienced that. And then
with each other?
No, not with each other.
I love
with
it.
other people. But
that's also toxic. That's like a toxic.
It can be.
Because we're butterflies. I said this on stage. I'm like, butterfly. Find a guy who gives you butterflies. That's anxiety.
Yeah.
It can be. It can be.
Or it's smelling familiarity of home, right?
Right. Which if your home one good.
Right.
But it's like what we see.
We're no.
In the 90s, Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, that kind of stuff. Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton with the blood.
That's my favorite.
But that's what we think of as
loves that relationship.
Love.
And today I think it's what's the
Codependency.
Kardashian? What's the Kardashian with the
Travis Barker.
They're
obsessed with each other.
And it might be healthy.
It makes you want to fuck. You're like, oh fuck, I forgot that sex is really fun. You make me want to have sex again.
Yeah.
It might be great. Sometimes I see that and I get jealous. Oh my god.
Yeah. Right. All over each other.
Yeah. But a lot of that can be dysfunction. A lot of it can be something running underneath, and we mistake it for chemistry because there's whatever addiction, Al-Anon. There's something else happening.
Yeah.
Predator, prey. Whatever you want to call it. That's magnetic.
Yeah, and it's almost like a healthy relationship is not magnetic.
It can be, but it comes in waves, or it comes in moments.
Cyclical, we all are.
Yeah.
Like human nature.
I think it's this really unhealthy expectation that we have that is what a real relationship is.
Yeah.
Oh, I have that with that person. Go for it, and then it should be like that forever.
Right.
Which is bullshit. That's not like that. It's not like that forever.
And we talk a lot about, Corinne was talking about earlier, a business relationship being, or a marriage rather, being a business relationship.
Yes.
But that is a really good way to think about it, because you're setting yourself up for a good life long term when you're with somebody who's a fucking partner,
right?
Not jealous of you, not trying to compete, but helps you.
And that's great. Everybody wants great chemistry. Everybody wants good sex. We all want to fuck. And at the same time, 10 years on the road, when you've got kids and a mortgage and a this and a that, the being able to fuck, of course that's important, but it's not the only thing. I want to know that I'm not going to have to ask you to do your fair share on the house, that I'm going to be able to rely on you.
And that type of stuff is huge.
Yes.
And that gives you way more than getting dick down, even though getting dick down is great. But it's can you have it all? And I think the answer is it's cyclical. So it does, the waves.
Yeah.
What does it mean to get dick down? I've never heard that.
Get fucked good, John.
Oh shit.
Just get fucked.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to come home and you say, you
want
know
to
what?
get dick down?
Oh my god.
Nice.
That's
I'm reinvigorating your sex life. Yes. Power Guys We Fcked, baby.
When I did first meet Vanessa and we got it was a blind date.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was being quote unquote single on purpose, and I was trying to make up for all the times that I didn't get to do stuff like
get dick down.
I've never
wanted to be a
dick
slut.
down.
You wanted to
I wanted to be a slut. I wanted to have threesomes, which I've never had. Wake up with people you didn't like, and do drugs.
You learn a lot about yourself.
And he's a serial monogamous. I got to have all that stuff in my 20s.
Yeah,
so
it is fun. I gotta say.
So I didn't get far. I I got, you know, like
I would say you're welcome.
I got into like 1 or 2 DMs, and yeah, it was very innocent. And then I met her.
Yeah.
And that was my ambivalence. It was like I knew that I knew that the next one was going to be, you know, possibly kids, the picket fence, all of that.
Yeah.
And so I was 1 foot in, 1 foot. I didn't know what to do. I was like, and,
Right.
you know,
I feel like a lot of men face that when entering a relationship. You're like, am I going to give up the idea of dicking people down?
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to.
Right.
Even if they don't want to, it's this
There's
freedom.
something about it. But also I think you're talking LA, New York too, like these city. I mean, it's that Peter Pan syndrome. So
Oh my God.
I
yes.
know. I was single in New York for a long time.
A lot of Peter Pans in this
a
town.
lot of Peter Pans in LA too. And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's different in other places. I don't think men don't face ambivalence, but I think they're more likely at an earlier age to be like, oh, this is the person I want to like settle down with and spend some time with. Whereas New York's, LA's, it's like there's so many beautiful people.
It's option overload.
There's always
well, on
something
top of
better
that,
around
swipe
the corner.
culture and
Always.
us turning into baseball cards, the layer of instant gratification from
Yep.
this generation, and so it's all a shield, and us thinking that it's us not giving love a chance or building anything.
Yep.
It's looking over the fence,
Surface.
drifting,
Yeah.
thinking we have options. I mean,
Yeah,
we
you're not
of course
living
we
in
have
the
options,
moment.
but yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
fantasy.
Even when you said, like, I heard you say previously that thing that you just said about knowing that whoever you are in a relationship next would probably be the person you would spend the rest of your life with, have kids with. So, and that's such a foreign concept to me. I feel like as a woman to just be like, you know, we talk about men, it's a lot about timing, but like you didn't even meet her yet. And you were like, I just know like the next one will probably be the one. Like, how does he get the gall to say that? Like,
That's really
where's that
interesting.
coming from? Because it's a man thing.
Yeah, well, I
It's a
think
timing thing. The light's on, right? Isn't that the cab light thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
well, just also being older at this point, I was in my late 40s.
You were
and-
mid. I think you were 44 or something.
Yeah,
when you met
When we
each other?
met, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wasn't just bouncing off the walls. I was
Sexually.
I was evolving. Yeah, which is great because it wouldn't have worked if I was in my 20s,
Yeah,
right?
because
And
I would have been like, enough.
I wanted to be held. I mean, as much as I wanted debauchery, I also wanted to experience,
Yeah.
Something
like
deeper.
eye contact and you know.
But you were married
communication.
previously, right?
I was married. Yeah.
Okay.
I was married for 5 years.
Yeah.
When you were how old?
29, I got married.
But together for 10.
Together
right?
for 10,
Yeah.
divorced at 35.
Okay.
And then I started a Tumblr back in those days,
That's so
before it's the social media.
Yeah.
All the dating with therapists, and then many relationships after that, like 3 years here, 3 years there. And then not much singlehood, a stretch of singlehood. Donuts, motorcycles, CrossFit.
Yeah.
And then long
Checking all the
relationships.
boxes.
Yeah, and then Vanessa.
It's funny because we did it so differently, right? I mean, I've had a couple
Yeah.
long-term relationships. Like before I met him, I mean, I had been in a short, pretty intense one, but I was in a 6-year. I was engaged. I left New York, moved to LA, kind of
Wow.
ended the relationship. But I had like a stretch.
You worked at
of-
Hooters.
Okay,
Nice.
okay. Long
I tried. They wouldn't hire me.
long
I think
time
it's great.
ago.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Early 20s. But yeah, I mean, I had that like 6-year stretch in New York in my 20s where I was like dating, doing my thing. And so I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's me also being a tourist where I'm like, okay, you're the one right now. We're going to do this. Let's make it happen. Like
Yeah.
I'm very like sure in the moment of
Yeah.
like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it happen right now.
Yeah.
And you weren't like that, which was like very unsettling
Right.
for me.
Right. And so her
Yeah.
thing was she didn't feel chosen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So how do you get past that? How do you talk about that? Because couples don't talk to each other. They don't have the difficult conversations. And I don't blame them because we don't have the fucking tools, right?
we don't.
So how do you talk about that and risk feeling even less chosen by, like, it's so vulnerable to expose
Well,
that.
here's what I will say is that when we start, because we're still talking about it, it's still a cycle in our relationship that comes up. Things he does or doesn't do brings that up in me. And then I have to kind of say, I'm feeling this again.
Yeah.
And then things I do or don't do make him feel undesired, which is
Yeah.
kind of like his stuff.
Right.
So it's a cycle that we
Okay.
kind of hit every maybe 6 months or so.
Because if we have some insecurity in us, we will make up that you did something to make us feel
Yes.
insecure.
Yes.
And we meaning humans, not
Right.
even men
or women,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
But in the beginning, it was actually, and I talk about this in the book, that I believe that partly him coming into my life was because of that cycle of not feeling chosen. And then he was
You need to deal
in
with
my
it.
face, right?
Yeah.
With it. Like, I'm not choosing
in
you.
what ways did you not feel chosen?
In life or with him?
With
me.
him, with romance, yeah.
Well,
'Cause
straight
I
up,
felt that way in relationships.
Straight up ambivalence. I mean,
Yeah.
like he'd be all in
Couldn't
it,
give a shit.
and then he'd be like, I don't know, maybe. Do I want this? Like,
Yeah.
maybe we should. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It was like 4 cycles of that in a pretty short period in the beginning.
How'd you handle that at first? Because at first you want to be like, all right,
She ultimately said,
I don't know if I
"Shit or
like
get
you
off the
either."
pot."
I said, shit or get off the pot. So
Eventually.
my big thing was like, I realized after 4 cycles of this, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, I was like, I'm choosing me.
Yeah.
I'm fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I know this could be awesome, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to prove that to you or beg you. Like,
Sure.
you either see it or you don't, and that's cool, but
Yeah.
I see it. So bye. And I was very clear. I was like, shit or get off the pot. And
Yeah. And he got off the pot
he,
for a
no,
second?
He shit.
Oh, he shit. Oh, he shit.
Yeah. Nice one.
Good.
Yeah.
You get a big old duty in that
Took a
pot.
big old duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you receive that information? Obviously good. 'Cause
Well,
it went
here's
but-
the other layer. It wasn't just my ambivalence because I wanted to sow my oats. That was part of it. The other thing was we're
so
very
different.
different.
We're
We're
so
super
That's
different.
the best. In what
can
ways?
be. Every way.
God, every
Attachment
single
style,
way.
love language.
Oh, yeah.
because
Aries and Taurus. I mean, there's like so
Yeah,
much about
like
us.
I'm used
Overfunction
to
or underfunctioner.
every way.
I was curious if you were gonna. I was gonna be like, "What's your thoughts on astrology?" Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I'm a Libra moon. He's a Cancer moon. I mean, literally, we could go further
She
about how
didn't
fucking
feel
different we are.
familiar. She didn't feel familiar, and it scared me.
Yes.
And
okay.
so we talk about
That's interesting.
swimming past that. We talk about loving without your past. I think there was a part of this where I was tracing old exes.
Yeah.
And not checking boxes because she didn't, do this or do that
Yeah.
when I expected it or what I was used to. And so I think I judged her in that way.
But
Yeah.
I do believe. I mean, I don't care how woo woo you want to say. It's like this idea of us coming into each other's lives for a reason. I mean, I think so much of that was we needed to learn this shit.
Yeah.
We needed to be like kind of that mirror put in
And
your
it's
face.
humbling when
It
you're
is
faced
so
with when you
humbling.
love somebody. That's so vulnerable to love somebody, first of all, and then when you're open about like, oh, you're doing this thing and it makes me feel worthless. Like, oh, even potentially just throwing it out there as a
Yep,
situation I
yep.
might talk about makes me
Yeah.
because you're exposing yourself and you don't want to. How was your childhood, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, it was fine. I mean, I had a single mom. I was pretty parentified. Like I was the oldest.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like 10 years closest to my next sibling. And so I took care of my brother's bartender, single
Yeah.
mom, busting her ass to help us survive. And so,
Do you have an anxious attachment?
I actually have more of an avoidant.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm the anxious.
And
you're anxious.
Yeah.
Whoa, I would have not pegged
Yeah.
that. I would have been opposite.
Yeah,
I know.
I hold on to her leg and she, runs the other way.
And I feel like that's so. I feel like that's for heterosexual relationships. That's less common.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially
Men
our
avoidant.
writers, it's the
Yeah.
men being avoidant, and I also am a female avoidant, like
Yeah.
super avoidant,
Yeah.
to the point where people are like, "Do you like me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm like literally
what do you
in love
mean?
with you."
Of course. I'm obsessed with you.
Right. Well, when are you going to come over?
Yeah.
Whatever I want.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's tough. It's like my thing, I think, growing up, right, to go back to that is like the avoidance is obviously the wall to protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you've had experiences growing up where being vulnerable hurts you, right, or is dangerous or is unsafe in some way, you learn very quickly not to do that. And so that's kind of where I go whenever I feel a little bit too vulnerable. I back off. And he's the opposite. Me backing off makes him want to kind of cling harder, which then makes me want to run away even more, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know this dance well.
Yeah, you really do learn a lot in relationships. Whew.
Yeah.
What attachment style are you?
Anxious attachment, because I feel myself like I feel like the heart sinking in the stomach. I have a lot of. I'm dating somebody, and it's more of the beginning, even though we've been seeing each other for a while. But like we're more officially like dating now, and I just watch myself with
Yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Like I've done really good job. It takes a lot of work to not shit on myself for my emotional
Yeah.
reactions
Yeah.
and just go, okay, you're
That's
feeling
happening.
abandoned right now. Is he actually doing something? You want like Brene Brown says, fact check it.
Yeah.
Is he doing something?
Yeah,
to
story
I'm
abandon
telling
you?
myself is-
Exactly. And I'm like, oh, the story I tell myself suck.
Yeah, but you know what you're doing is you're also self-soothing or
Yes.
practicing.
You're practicing
the
it.
self-soothing.
By being anxious about it? Or?
no,
by
by being
noticing
aware
it.
of it,
Oh.
realizing that the sky's
Yeah.
not falling, he's not leaving,
Right.
And then there's this riptide that happens, the inner journey, and then you survive that alone without
Yeah.
practicing, without
him,
being
Right.
outside his
Without going,
window.
why are you
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I got through that.
Yeah.
And then he comes over and you're like, oh, nothing was wrong.
Yeah, and he's
It
like,
was all
hey, what's up?
good.
I'm like, hey, nothing. And we're great.
But this is the fascinating thing with the whole anxious avoidant dance, right? Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of, and I mean, listen, avoidants have to do their own kind of self-soothing too, which for us, it's more like, I feel like I want to pull away, which means I probably should lean in.
Yeah.
Right?
But when when you're avoidant, do you kind of get a little bit of like it's an ego thing when the person like is anxious about you avoiding? Like if I imagine like being an avoidant, and if I was
Get
avoidant
annoyed.
and the person is like,
Nope,
I'd be
get
like,
annoyed.
haha, it's working. Okay.
No, it's the most annoying thing.
Yeah, it feels very overwhelming. At
Yeah.
least for me, I feel very overwhelmed.
Uh-huh.
I feel very like this is too much.
That's when I end up
Can't handle
kicking
it.
people out of my apartment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
and I don't know about your upbringing, but for me, it's like, especially when you're kind of that parentified, I've met a lot of needs, like for my mom, for example, single parent, busting her ass young. I think I met a lot of her emotional needs, and that wasn't my choice, right? I didn't have a choice in that matter. And so what I've realized now is even with a kid, when people in my life need things from me, emotional needs, even if like, of course they do, they're your partner, they're your kid, I'm like, oh God, it's too much. People are needy. I shut down. Everybody leave me alone. I can't do this. And it's not fair, right? Because we have to be able to also help meet our partner's needs, but it overwhelms me very quickly. And when I get overwhelmed, I'm like,
there's no dicking down. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, exactly. You can't be dick down when you're
not
overwhelmed.
when you're touched out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for me, it's not like I had a very rare good childhood. So for me, I think the avoiding comes from I had this whole childhood where I was rewarded for saying what I think and allowed to and embraced. And then you go out into the real world and you're just being yourself.
Right.
And people are responding to that with lies, with shields, with not doing what they say they're going to do. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then you just get punched hard immediately
and you shut it all down.
I'm not. This is not a safe
It's like a
place
tough
for me.
childhood prepares you for the world a little bit better
Yeah.
in that
bit.
way.
I can see that,
Like
yeah.
you don't experience as much disappointment because you're like, people are disappointing, and I've known that since day one.
it's so sad.
It is true. Yeah. Yeah.
True.
And then, but back to the first for the feeling chosen. So this is an interesting thing. So I only will go out with people if I feel chosen, basically. Yeah. But then what happens is I feel chosen for the whole time that we're together. And then, and this has happened like a bunch of times, then after, I dump them, or sometimes get dumped. Mostly I dump them because they're kind of like they're not in the relationship at the level of presency that they should be at. That's the word I made up, I think. And then and then they go on and choose someone else who is basically like very similar to me, but just not as like much to deal with. So like either younger, like they just haven't, they haven't like grown into the full person they can. So you like, you stop them early if you get them in their 20s.
They go back to the 1.0 version of you.
Of me. Yeah. So that happened 2 times in like, so I've had 4 times I was in love. That happened 2 times, like down to a T, like me. I mean, one is so close, even astrologically closest I've ever gotten from anyone I know in my entire life. And then another thing that will happen is, I feel chosen, like really special chosen. And then they just like move on very quickly to someone who also, and this is me looking from the outside in, looks like a second chosen person. And me, I'm going, how the fuck did you fall in love this deeply 3 months later? Yeah. Like what? So thoughts.
What the fuck, you guys?
God,
thoughts?
And I mean, this is something obviously we've spent years and years thinking about this, so that's why we're hitting you with like extra hearts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we're gonna hit you with an invoice first of all.
The first thing I would say is it sounds like, because I have a very similar story, that it feels a little bit like there's something underlying for you around the feeling of being too much. Does that come up for you a lot?
I mean, I think that's any powerful like woman
especially.
We're like
with opinions.
We're known people. I'm from New Jersey. I'm loud. We have a lot of money. Like people don't even like saying that. Women don't even like hearing that women. And I go, we're talking about it because we fucking want you to have money too.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. It's independence.
Yeah.
We live in a capitalist society.
But a man, if the whole needing to feel needed goes down the window when a woman is powerful and takes care of herself.
Because to me, like I'll root you on. I want you to succeed. Like yes, but I'm not gonna be like, Mama, are you baby? Like anytime I start to feel like a mom, I get physically repulsed.
Same. Like most women do. I mean, this is like Estelle Perel talks about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
She's like, we're biologically wired to not fuck our offspring, and so the second you start to feel a little bit parental in your relationship. Like forget it, right?
So real quick on that topic, what I feel like is happening with you is men are going from your mouth to your nipple.
That's what he
meaning
for sure.
From your partner at first, and there's chemistry, and this is a good fit, and then you guys start loving each other, and then now you're taking care of him, whether it's emotionally, or he's intimidated, or there's other stuff happening where there's drift. and then he would rather have the
1.0.
the 1.0, the
Easier.
the minimal viable product, the
Yeah.
MVP version of you instead of the 2.0. We have this joke that because her 1.0 was the I wouldn't want to be with the 1.0, but like as far as like. Because she just like, maybe if she didn't feel like having sex, she would just do it, or,
Doing it for them.
or, giving someone a blowjob or whatever.
A lot of codependent bullshit.
A lot of stuff,
Reluctant
Yeah.
BJs.
Yeah.
And and now she
I'll just give
now
you a
she
BJ.
can say no, and now she draws boundaries. And so we have this joke that God, if I had the 1.0 version of her,
Be having more sex.
Right.
I'd be, or whatever it is, right? And then, but of course, the evolved is better, but it's also more challenging for me.
It's also where you are in your
Because
life
now I
right
got
now.
evolved too
very
with
honest.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
saying, is,
yeah.
it,
You know
is
what
this
I'm saying?
because you're in your 40s? Is this,
Maybe the self-work, the
But
self-awareness
a lot of guys
Right.
don't
Yeah.
like. I hear that sentiment echoed a lot of like, the more you work on yourself, the woman, the more I, the guy, have to, and I don't want to.
Well, but isn't that anybody? I mean, it's like this is
I
the
don't know.
thing
I
about the
want self improvement. I'm trying to improve like every day.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say don't we all. Don't we all? Maybe sitting here,
Yeah,
but
sure.
right, like I say this to clients all the time. When you start on this journey, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but go into it with your eyes open, right?
Yeah.
Like we all have different ways of saying it. You say it's the relationship tree. I like to say it's a strainer. It's like basically every relationship that you have is going to go into this strainer. Some of them are going to fall through.
Sure.
Because some people don't want that mirror, and
Yeah.
you doing work on
Right.
yourself inevitably becomes a mirror on themselves, right? So the thing I don't know, obviously without really diving into it with you deeper, is like, are you really showing a mirror to a lot of these guys' insecurities and what they can't really tolerate in themselves?
my therapist.
Yeah,
I
and so
think
it's
that too.
kind of making them put their tail between their legs because they can't handle it. And then, in which case, if that's a pattern, if these are the kind of men that's a pattern for you,
Right.
then it becomes okay. Let's look at the
What-
type of man that you're attracted to and drawing into your sphere. You might think you're bringing one type of guy in,
Sure.
but if there's this pattern happening, there's something going on there with these men that might have some kind of insecurity around a woman standing in her full power and full potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tricked by false confidence a lot because to me, the concept of faking confidence is such a crazy, psychotic thing to do.
Right.
And I
Yet
know
so many men do
So
it.
much
I
energy.
know.
Wait,
and
are you also dating comics?
yeah.
Not to generalize. but-
Not sometimes, yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I've tried. So I've dated people as young as 12 years younger than me and as old as 15 years older than me, and same problem across the board.
Yeah.
I've done like it's usually someone. It's not always someone with a headshot, as they say, but like sometimes it's a lot of times in the sphere, but it's also like because who else? Everyone else is boring when you're a comic. So
Yeah.
I even tried dating a boring comic, and that was bad. And he was like, so it was healthy, but it was just a snooze fest. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying that you think humor is hot.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, of course. What about EQ? Is that hot? Meaning, can someone be a little bit less funny, but then also have really good EQ and be on the same path as you as far as
What do you mean
evolution?
EQ?
Emotional
Intelligence.
Oh.
Because if you just have funny,
well,
you ultimately have to go home and build something. So, like,
Yeah.
They can, yeah. I guess it's like if number one best thing is them, if they're funny. Number two best thing is they think I'm funny. But like, if you're not funny at all,
then that's a deal breaker.
I mean, my whole basic,
We're
like my whole
surrounded by
career,
the funniest
my
people.
life
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
making
yeah,
people
yeah, of
laugh.
course.
But like funny people are fucked up usually.
Well, I was actually just going to say, I hate to but isn't there really a statistic around people who are technically not just
Right.
comedians, but
Performative in their
performers?
relationship.
I don't like people who are always on. If you're like
Yeah, yeah,
serious
yeah.
a lot of the time,
like levels of depression, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of struggles there emotionally. And so I don't know, is there some of that playing into the kind of guys that you're attracted to? And a lot of it might be very unconscious for you. Like this is what
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that a lot of people who are really funny may not be also putting their evolution, self-betterment, or EQ
On the
as
front
high
burner. Yeah.
as their
Yeah.
humor and jokes.
Because that gets them all the things they
Yeah,
need.
so when they're not funny, they just want to eat and fuck around, just be whatever, and,
Right.
and maybe it doesn't work for you anymore. So
Damn it.
you got to compromise with the funny,
I know.
unless you find someone who's funny and who's got.
But that's, I mean, it's not that it's not out there, right? But I mean, we can all find unicorns.
So funny. I could find that in a fucking woman any day of the week.
Same.
Finding that in a
Maybe
man
that's the problem.
is so hard. Why is that?
Maybe that's
though?
the problem, right? Yeah, I mean, but that's the truth. It's like, so we talk a lot with clients, but also ourselves, this idea of like non-negotiables versus preferences.
Yeah.
Right. And getting really familiar with your non-negotiables.
How do you know something is a non-negotiable for you?
I think it should be an evolving list. It's like it's a list that should live and breathe, right? But there are things that should, first of all, be on everybody. It's like, emotional abuse, physical abuse, like things like that.
Yeah.
Like bottom line, black and white, they should be on there. Then you should really sit and be real with yourself. Like if you think that humor is a non-negotiable, like, okay, put it on your non-negotiable list, but know that that list is living and breathing. So, okay, I've had a pattern of X, Y, and Z. Let me relook at my list of preferences, non-negotiables. Maybe it's not a non-negotiable. Maybe it's a preference. Let me date with it in that kind of framework and see how that goes, which I'm not saying you haven't, but I've had that kind of that changing of the list of being like, this is a hard no or a hard yes versus like, I could probably compromise on this.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you hold yourself accountable to your non-negotiables, you do kind of start to narrow it down a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
And then you also have to hold yourself accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
If you're like, but I have so much chemistry with this person, but Jesus, they've got all these red flags on my non-negotiables list. It's like, all right, well, girl,
why?
like,
Can you explain why someone would have chemistry with someone with red flags? It happens every goddamn day, but it's so it tricks you because Corinne said something so interesting that I've not stopped thinking about since last week. Of like, she was like, my parents loved me, so romantic love isn't as enticing to me, and I'm like, oh, I think that's what it is. Like my parents, they tried, but they were not there for me. They did not nourish me emotionally, spiritually. They didn't ask how I was fucking doing.
And you're more of an anxious attachment, and you're more of an anxious attachment, John. And I've heard you say kind of similar things about parenting. Right?
So when someone gives me these feelings,
looking for things, that
I'm like, we're gonna be together. Why would we not? Because you give me the feelings, so duh. And they're like, all right. Tex, calm the fuck down.
A little reparenting going on.
Yeah. But like the chemistry that you feel inside of you when you're attracted to somebody, for me, it's very rare. And so when I feel that, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what your deal is. Like I feel this, so let's go.
Yeah,
like, that's
it
always what I led
overrides.
with.
No, but our feelings are always going to be the elephant in our logic, the right or top, and the elephant's going to go where it's going to go. So when you feel something, I mean, shit, that's why we eat emotionally, and that's why we,
Right.
I'm so the opposite. Which is so funny.
I want to insert real quick because I want to just stick up for men in that.
Yeah,
I do think I think there are men out there that have what you're looking for as far as on their self-betterment journey, EQ. They're trying to be better. They're looking inward. They're taking ownership. And they're funny or smart or whatever, or have abs or whatever you're into.
Abs are overrated. They go away.
No, I agree. But I think, and if you do have abs, you might not have a life. And
maybe,
so, But and you're definitely not going to be eating pizza and all this other stuff. That's nectar.
You're less fun with abs.
But I think they're out there, and I think if we start saying they're not.
Right.
It's like the white Prius thing.
Sure.
Right? And then so just...
Is that just an LA reference? Do you think people know?
Yeah, I was like, wait,
reference?
does that mean when you get a white...
They're from New York.
I think, does that mean when you get a white Prius, everyone has
yes.
one?
Like when you start to see them, you start to see them everywhere.
Right. And so when you're announcing to yourself, like, there's no men out there like that, I should just go date a woman or whatever, because there's a lot of women.
Honestly, yeah, I've said that.
Yeah.
That announcement, I think, creates the lenses where you actually don't see.
You're going to see what you want to see.
You're going to see what you want to see.
Yeah, and I do see what I want to see.
Yeah, and so maybe for women, they can actually start announcing that there are, I believe, as a choice, there are men out there, I believe, that's who I want to see in it. That's who I want to attract.
But isn't that hard after time and time again? I mean, you kind of the knees over and over again.
It's discouraging, John. Jeez.
Well, I mean, listen, when I started dating you, before I started dating you, I remember my mom saying to me, Vanessa, you keep narrowing your pool down more and more and more. Because after like my big ex, I was like, well, this is from now on. Now this is on my non-negotiables list, right?
Yeah.
And for the next guy, I was like, well, the non-negotiables list just got even bigger.
It changed again. Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm just going to date therapists. And she was like, that's a really small dating pool. Now, lo and behold, I manifested this when I made it happen.
Yeah.
But she was like, you better be careful. Like, you're going to have
but therapists are just as fucked up too.
I mean, everybody I went to high school with that's now a therapist.
All fucked up.
I'm like, you're a therapist? But I'm also saying this as somebody who I have great therapists. So who knows? I don't know what their personal life is like. Yeah. How is it dating a therapist, like, or being married to a therapist? You guys fucking therapize each other shit?
You know, I
Like,
think
does it
we
get
make each
annoying?
other accountable. So I would feel
that
like a
probably does get
hypocrite.
annoying.
Yeah. But also being on social, posting all, talking all shit about, being a certain way and then at home you're not.
Yeah.
I would feel kind of gross.
I
and
always
so,
wonder about that with all the
Yeah.
videos. I'm like, damn.
So you call yourself out all the time. You're like, fuck.
she calls me out. And
Yeah.
I call her out,
Yeah.
Or try
Yeah,
to.
I mean, people think that we like sit around and analyze each other.
Yeah,
I would say it's like a hat. You put it on, you take it off. You put it
Yeah.
on, you take it off. I mean, I'm never not, I guess, thinking kind of in that way.
Yeah.
But also, like, sometimes I'm just like hangry and I'm being a bitch and I'm not thinking about what I'm saying and it's not the kindest and I just like bite his head off, and
Yeah.
and then later on he's like, hey, listen,
Yeah.
you were kind of a bitch,
Yeah.
not that you would ever use those words, but and then I'm like, oh, I was,
Yeah.
and I quote unquote should know better, but we're human, and
Yeah.
so sometimes I'm a bitch.
You were kind of New York.
I
You're a
am.
little New York.
Very New York. I love
We
it.
actually jokingly say that, like, in the very beginning, that was like probably the biggest cultural difference between you and
Yes.
I is like New York,
New York,
LA.
LA.
She would say, hey, she would say, fuck you. And I was like, oh my God.
We were joking around one
Yeah,
time,
that
and I
was
was like,
like,
"Oh, whatever, fuck you," and
Yeah.
he was like,
The fuck
his
out of LA,
face-
asshole.
He like
That's how
clutched
New
my
Yorkers
pearls,
do it.
clutched his
Yeah.
pearls. He
Yeah.
was like,
No, I get
"Can
it
we
now.
not say
Yeah.
fuck you to each other?" I was
Right.
like, "Whatever." That's like a term of endearment. What
Yeah.
are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
I do that all the time. That's why when I was choosing
Very
my
East Coast.
therapist, because it was on Zoom, I was like, she has to be a New York.
Yes.
I can't have a West Coast.
No,
That was my
Right.
number one thing.
it's
Yeah.
true.
I was
Or
like, I'm
somebody
gonna
with
go
a
talk to
transplant.
them. Yeah.
You got to have a transplant. Yeah,
I can't deal with
people
it.
who come to me for therapy. It's like there's a very specific type of person that really resonates with my style because
Yeah.
I'm very like in your face. I'm aggressive. I'm a
Yes.
fast talker. I swear a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's
Very
just,
East Coast.
yeah, I'm an East Coaster, and so yeah, not John.
Do you think there's different things that you're like, or I mean, obviously there's different things you're looking for, but I think another challenge, and especially with a lot of like New York women, LA women, is like, so if you're not necessarily looking to get married, have kids with someone, or even possibly not even cohabitate with them, there's like different needs that you have, and like what's in it for a guy to be with a woman who doesn't like want to raise his children, not really going to be like overly nurturing. Like, how do we sell
Pussy's a
this?
mother, you mean?
Pussy.
Like, well, besides pussy, how do we sell this? Because
I got nothing after that.
Yeah, but even that at 40, like, because I'm 49, and I mean, and I'm also I'm highly sexual. When we first met, I because I'm kind of kinky. When we were dating, I said, hey, can I slap you? And she said, if you slap me, I'm gonna slap you back. I was like, oh no, that's not.
I was like,
really-
sure, but
that's
I'm
not what I
That
was
is in New York, yeah. But also, thanks for asking, because some people don't ask, and
Yeah.
you're like, no, that's abuse. You can't do
gotta
that.
hit your face.
you gotta
But
ask.
it's like, ironically, like we could have the dirtiest, slappiest sex if we did talk about it. So,
If we talked about it.
Yeah,
But as you get older, I think that's not like on priority anymore.
Yeah.
you know,
what is your priority?
connection. I still have sex, of course.
Yeah. It's part of connection.
We took our first tantra class.
oh, that's cool.
Oh, you took a class? That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, online. Just
Oh, online. Okay.
Yeah.
Just one.
One's all you
they
needed.
told us our homework was to have a 3-hour no sex, just like massage based.
Well, it's not no sex, no ejaculation.
orgasm. Yeah,
Or-
and we were
Oh,
both-
so you just sit inside each
we
other.
have a 2.5-year-old. We both looked at each other and we were like,
Yeah.
"Are you fucking kidding?"
Yeah.
That's so
3
funny.
hours.
You legit need a babysitter to take your child out of the house.
We'd be sleeping. Are you kidding?
But yeah.
Have you sat and looked into someone's eyes for 10 minutes?
It's the hardest.
It's
thing.
really
It's
difficult,
really
but I
hard.
have.
So hard.
Yes.
It's
It feels
intimate.
so uncomfortable and,
Yeah.
and very intimate.
I've only done it that in acting class, not with an actual partner.
Yeah, I've done it.
Well,
It's
yeah,
really hard.
yeah, and
That was more comfortable for me.
Sure.
I think that's just a stranger. I
There's
can
a
look
lack of intimacy.
I can look
No,
at
no,
a stranger's
yeah,
like,
eyes
close your
for
eyes
10
or-
minutes. That's
Yeah.
no, absolutely no problem.
Said like a true avoidant.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Spoken like a true
I'll lick a
avoidant.
stranger's face. I don't give a fuck.
Do it with
But now somebody I love, fuck that.
Tough,
Yeah,
tough,
I perform
You get very
stand
little
up
eye
naked,
contact.
but like if I had to like write someone something vulnerable, what I mean, also sometimes like, oh yeah, this is another thing. So like if you're in like a relationship with someone, have you ever been in a relationship with someone and then when you're unpacking it, which is what this show is kind of about, like unpacking a relationship afterwards, when we have on like the guys that we fucked, and you're talking to them and you're like, were we in 2 different relationships?
Yeah.
How that to me is like one of the saddest sadnesses
Because there's
How do
not
we-
a connection.
How
yeah.
do we reconcile this?
Well, let me answer your first question. I think, and it might be a little bit abstract, but so for me now, it's not so much what am I getting out of this,
Yeah.
or why is it worth it for me and what I'm getting, or it's not just about my boner. It's what can we build that's greater than us. Like that gets me excited.
Yeah.
Right?
That,
So
and that is
whether-
an exciting prospect.
Yeah, and so whether that is, us being parents or whether that is, a new love experience or whatever that looks like. I think we have to take ourselves kind of out of the equation to hit higher notes.
Yeah.
Because if I just care about getting laid,
Right.
It's
It
all
wouldn't-
self-centered. You can't build anything.
well, then also
worthy
it
off
would
of
be she may not be into that, and then I'd be
Right.
on to the next, and then
Right.
and it would just be dating.
It's like this idea of it being the cherry on the sundae, right? Which I've talked about. It's like it's important. We do get things. We get our needs met, certain needs met from partnership. And to your point, we build something greater. I also think it's really dangerous for us to walk around thinking that this person is going to be like this needs meeting machine.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Right?
That's
And
unfair.
so many of us do that.
Yeah,
though.
I know, because we're taught to every love song is like, you're my wind, you're my food,
Yeah.
you're my life, you're my bed, you're
You
my
complete
bathtub,
me.
you're my
Right.
toilet, you're my. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
There's something romantic about that. That's why, because it gives us
Not for
dopamine
me.
and because we're not.
As he avoided, I'm like, it's too many
Right.
needs.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so
it's toxic.
So okay, so it's like something greater than you. I mean, that you have to get pretty like existential. That like the partner needs to really be thinking on quite a high EQ. It's like
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a non-negotiable. Is that
Yeah.
person has that ability at
Right.
least a little bit, or
To-
is
to
curious
think
about
like that.
Because if you say that to someone,
you could
like,
think
what
like
the fuck
that,
are you on?
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if I'd want to be with that
But
person.
like the idea of like let's build something greater than ourselves, I'm fucking in.
Right.
That's so exciting.
I agree.
That's so
And there's something
exciting.
sexy about that, right?
Yeah,
like there's,
yeah.
I don't know. That seems sexy to me.
Well, to me,
It's
I've
you can
had
go there.
I've had romantic like monogamish, I guess,
Yeah.
relationships where like we've gone on like a sexual adventure together a couple years into the relationship where like we bring a girl in or whatever, and like I'm so much more bonded with my partner after that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've never experienced a bond like I did with my last ex.
Wait, why is that? Why?
Because it's this
Growing,
thing of like
stretching.
there's this bullshit idea of like you're mine sexually.
Oh,
no,
God, yeah.
that's not. But if you can like enjoy each other's own sexuality together and like seek out these things that are like kind of make you both nervous. You're
Yeah.
like my boyfriend and I would take girls out on dates and we're both like, oh, we're nervous and we're nervous together. And I was like,
Right.
oh, this is
Kinda
fucking
hot.
fun.
Yeah.
What a weird thing. And like we could become this like a little transformer.
I love
you know?
that.
So
I love that.
it produced glue, what I call relationship glue. You guys are now on the same team.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You guys did
Unequivocal,
something
yeah.
together,
And the person I'm seeing now, like we had a conversation about like, oh, like his sexual needs, my sexual needs, and how like just the conversation is like, if you need something more than just us exclusively, like that, let's talk about it. Like that could be really
said that
hot.
to him, yeah.
Just that conversation, I felt more bonded with him because it's like,
Makes
oh,
you
this
feel
isn't
free.
suffocating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say it's like I don't necessarily need to fly out of the cage, but I need to know the door is open.
Yeah. Yes.
If I feel like that door is closed,
Oh,
I'm like
the
shaking
worst.
bars to get out.
Yeah, and I'm like trying to fuck somebody when I don't
When I
don't even want to. But I'm like,
Right.
I just
So
don't
true.
want to feel trapped.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Do we need to bring a girl into the room? Is that what
Or a
the-
guy.
Oh my God. My 3 ways with 2 men have been
Ooh,
the
a
best
guy.
sexual experiences of my life.
Oh my God.
We can talk about this.
A guy and I flew a male porn star in from Los Angeles to have sex with us. To me, but it was
Holy
and this
shit.
was a fuck buddy. This is a pretty.
Oh, I'm like
deep-
getting turned on thinking
This
about
is a really
this.
deep like thing for us. Like it bonded. This person and
Yeah.
I will be bonded forever because of that. Even though the nature of our relationship was mainly just fuck buddy. Like we had a respect for each other, but like, man, those to watch. And the reason why, if you're on the fence, I have no idea. But if you are, to watch your partner get fucked is really hot. You
could be
don't get
hot.
to see that, and
Yeah,
that's why
sure.
I
I
like
can see
bringing
that.
another woman into the bedroom because I like watching him have sex from the outside.
Oh,
like
the
voyeurism.
that's so
Yeah.
hot.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
It's so hot.
But not everyone's into that. But I could see how
Right.
that is. Yeah, I don't know if you would be, but I
could. I mean,
yeah.
I'm
If
like,
you frame it right.
I don't know about
I'm
flying
a very,
porn stars
like, no
in,
jealous.
but
I don't know.
You do you guys live in LA?
I was gonna say, we
Yeah,
live in
we live
LA.
in LA.
We have access
That's
to
where all the
plenty.
porn stars are.
they're
that's what.
just
Yeah, we
there.
just gotta drive to Reseda.
Yeah, they're just there.
Yeah, they're one Uber right away. Yeah.
Okay, so wait. So let's go back to this idea of
Yeah, so I have like 80,000 concepts,
Okay.
and I was
Oh,
like, wow.
Which
okay, no, this
not being on the same page. So you end the relationship and you're like, wait a second, we're not in the same relationship.
especially when it's someone who like I guess maybe the way you would put it is maybe like people. There's a difference between between being vulnerable and then like performatively vulnerable.
Sure.
Like almost like doing a like being vulnerable in the way you see people on TV being like saying like these like big romantic things, but
Yeah.
then not meaning them. Because I rarely say stuff like that,
Same.
but when I say it, I fucking mean it, you know? And then so
I do know. I'm like that too.
So to then respond to something very vulnerable with something not vulnerable
it's heartbreaking.
is like, well, now we just went back 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
I like this happened recently. I mean, I saw my therapist quivering over Zoom, and I was like, Kirsten is so mad that I was vulnerable for the first time, and it backfired. But it backfired in a way that was valuable to me.
It's always going to be valuable in that way.
Of course.
Yeah.
It did not hurt my feelings. It didn't? No. It didn't hurt my feelings. I just felt like I was in a bizarro world. I go, who the fuck was I dating? Who the fuck was I dating? Who was this person?
How long were you dating before that happened?
Like 7 months.
So what's interesting about that, and I mean, as he avoided, I'm going, yeah, 7 months sounds about right. But had you done that 2 or 3 months in, would you have gotten that information and bailed out 2 or 3 months in?
I got the information after I had broken up with the person.
Okay.
And was attempting to not even get back together immediately, but attempting to heal. It was the first time I felt like I had fucked up a relationship.
Okay.
And so I needed to apologize, and I needed to be like, I always like loved you. I didn't like, my love for you didn't turn off. I just was on a personal journey, which you say one of the 3 reasons why someone starts to distance themselves in a relationship.
Yeah.
You just were talking about that. And that to me was so important, because I was like, I'm going through that. Like my dad died. And so I wasn't present. And then I felt like I explained that, and like, it was just like, I was just met with a list of grievances on more reasons why I hurt this person, some of which were very shallow.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God, that like made give me a sinking in my stomach.
This person wasn't able to hold that.
Yeah.
To be.
I mean, that's the answer, and it was
Like, it actually wasn't about you, right? Which is kind of hard to hear.
Never,
right?
no, and
never is.
Never is, and I mean that's why we're like in the past couple months keep talking about that on this show. It's just like, it's really not about us.
Well, you're also not hurt because you're in shock.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Maybe after that subsides, then you'll be like, okay, now I'm hurt. Or who knows, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who responds to something like this.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, this is life. People die, we lose jobs,
Right.
we get kicked out of houses, like whatever the big things are, right? Like,
Right.
And to see how somebody acts or responds in a huge moment like that.
Yeah.
Is really telling. It's really,
Right.
I mean, this is why so many marriages break up over money, having kids, big moves, because, you know, you might think you know somebody, and then something massive like losing your father happens, and all of a sudden you're like, who the fuck are you? I don't know you at all, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or they come out the gate with something shallow, and you're like, was I dating you the whole time? What the fuck?
Right.
Like,
Maybe I don't know me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because it's just weird to come from someone who I think was like, you know, probably a more vulnerable partner, and is saying like, but then I'm like, this is why I don't like when people say flowery things, because I don't believe them.
How real is it?
Yeah, exactly. And then,
But I have a hard time with words too, I think for that kind of reason. It's
Yeah.
like, for me, words are great, but show me.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I love words. That's awesome. That's cool. But like,
The way our culture is now, it's just meaningless
It's a lot of
words. So
words.
it's like, well, if these words have no weight, then what the fuck?
Yeah, but it's also not your way. It's
My
not
love
your love
language.
language. She's acts of service.
It's
words of
not, but I do
affirmation.
think it has to do. I think, you know, we've talked about this idea that like more recently the research around love languages is starting to show that like what your love language is can correlate to what you didn't get as a child.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I got a lot of words. I still get a lot of words. I think what was missing, and I'm not blaming her for this. I mean, she was fucking stressed out in her early 20s trying to keep food on the table.
Yeah.
But I think what was missing is like, I got a lot of words and I got a lot of here's food and a roof over your head,
Right.
which is great.
Yeah.
But what I didn't get a lot of is like you were saying, it's like the emotional kind of
Yeah,
like the
nurturing.
nourishment and like the, you know, you are worthy and I love you because you're you and all these
when
important
you see
things.
like a mother-daughter in a show and the mother's like, now let's talk about that.
It's
And
like
maybe
a-
you could have done something better,
it's
but
like
it's
a
okay.
knife
And you're
to the
like,
gut. I'm like,
that's
wait
how
a
moms
second.
talk to daughters. waters.
Right. And so I do think that a little bit of this, like what you didn't get and the love language correlation is real. So for me, when I hear words, it's like, I like words, I respect words, but when somebody shows up and shows it, there's like a different level of like, oh, this is fucking real. So I don't know if there's that too. Like maybe for you, it's really important to find somebody who can show you love in the way that instead of telling you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and it's interesting because like, I think a feedback I get a lot, and I mean, obviously if you get it multiple times, it's right.
Right.
So is that like, I don't talk enough. I'm like, I talk for a living. I'm so tired of talking when I get home. So it's like, I don't talk enough, and I'm like, definitely like, you know, my communication's not, I mean, it's gotten a lot better, but still I have a really hard time being vulnerable. So then to like give a person what they asked for and then be greeted with, I mean, just the most nothing. Just like truly unimpressive. Like if I in my head thought of like the worst response I could do, because I would have rather had a impassioned, angry response than just a fart on a page, which is what I received.
I wonder if your vulnerability made him freaked out. I don't know. 'Cause sometimes guys aren't used to it and
Holy
they get it
shit.
and they're like, oh,
what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Maybe
like
too, I hate to say this, but like maybe too little too late.
Yeah. But it's someone who was like kind of like there, like even so even after like the list of grievances, like the list of grievances that he's referencing there was all things that happened in the relationship, and then after we broke up he was still trying to get back with me. So obviously those grievances from the relationship you didn't care that much about if you were trying to get back with me.
Yeah.
So this is why it makes no sense.
Right. Right.
That feels a little bit like almost using the vulnerability against you.
Yeah.
There feels like a lot of attacking in that, right? And also
Right.
like you're holding on to these grievances and you're giving them to me now. So like, where were you having conversation? Like, so he's clearly holding on to resentment.
I knew about one of them, and I was communicative through it. I was like, you know, it was that I was not giving him enough words of affirmation, and I go, I have nothing to give right now. All my energy right now is on the death of my father, and I have nothing to give. I'm barely showing up for myself. And I was really, really, really conscious about being communicative about that. But also, I'm navigating something I've never navigated before. So I can only give you so much of a heads up because I don't have a heads up.
You don't know how you're going to feel day to day.
Oh, it's so hard.
Well, you know, the fact that you communicated that is impressive.
huge.
I was so proud of myself. I went leaps and bounds in this relationship and then got extra nothing.
But you still, holy shit, went leaps and bounds.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I was like, because I really, really tried. I was like, you know, this is a more sensitive person. I was like, I really can't do my normal Corinne bullshit. Basically, where I'm just to avoid it, you know, walking around, you know,
compartmentalizing,
seeing if you text me on Valentine's Day, having reservations be skipped over because you didn't tell me and I didn't tell you. I mean, just wild shit, you know. That was years ago, but interesting.
You had mentioned something that John said, Corinne, about 3 ways that you could feel lonely in a relationship, and one of them was
3
like
ways
a journey.
that are 3 reasons why people drift.
Wait, what are the other 2?
Pulling away. Yeah.
One was going on your own journey, or something like, you know, father passing, right?
Yeah.
One was
putting on the spot. Remember your own videos.
I don't even. It's all mush to me. It's all just
wait, I can go to it. Because I was like really like studying. I mean, I was like manically up until like 6 a.m. be like, what can we talk about? But we reach out to people that we like their advice. I mean, there's plenty of people on the therapist and relationship advice that is terrible
full
online.
of shit.
So the journey was the second one. Number 1 was nothing is changing, and number 3 was they may not be metabolizing their anger and resentment.
Yeah. So nothing changing, meaning.
No growth.
You're with someone, you've done as much as you can, you're seeing your therapist, you're doing a lot of work, you're not seeing any change in them.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you kind of give up and you don't really want to end, but you're in it and you just start drifting. And then you start getting curious about what else is out there, right? So, and then the third one is resentment. It's when you start holding on to things that you're angry about, and you may have pushed down or been like, it's not a big
I
deal.
shouldn't say anything about this.
And then over the years, that shit builds up. It's like whack.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're drifting, because I think resentment can be that
sneaks up.
Try to kiss someone you're mad at.
Yeah.
It flips a magnet, really, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, I do think women more than men hold things down or don't want to rock the boat or whatever.
Right. It's if you're
don't wanna
anxious
talk about
attachment, you don't want to be like, you're on your phone too much, because I don't
Yeah.
want to say that because I don't want to.
Or they feel like, you know what, it's
Well,
actually
there's-
just, you know,
It's not a big deal.
like,
Right.
This
I mean,
is
I
what a
think
good
that's
girlfriend looks
also-
like or whatever.
yeah, we're
And then
socialized that way
they
for
start
sure,
drifting because
right?
there's so much, so many, pebbles in their shoe.
How do you? Okay, so talk about the ways you could drift. How do you come together? Like, what are some things that you can do to like bond? To
God,
me, yeah,
not getting defensive, like being
Yeah.
a safe person.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as the person who does hold the resentments, like that's something
Yeah.
I've always struggled with. And my last relationship my last long relationship was somebody who I felt very unsafe coming to. And so I just continued to hold it. I mean, I
Right.
actually remember a conversation I had with him one time where he was bitching about somebody else essentially holding resentment, like a friend or something. And I remember saying to him, you're a really hard person to talk to, right? Like you're very scary. Like I'm just letting you know. It was easier for me to give him that feedback when I was like, it's general. 1,000 foot.
Yeah.
But I don't have that with John. Like that's actually, I think, one of the things that I find the most connecting. I mean, look, you're not perfect all the time. Neither am I, right? There's times where we
You're
both get
both human.
defensive.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
human.
And you just do things differently.
Right. But like 9 out of 10 times.
By connected, you mean sexy?
Yes, baby.
Thank
Sexy,
you.
sexy and desired.
else?
Sexy and desired. But like
Words of
9 out of 10
definition.
times, you're able to kind of bite your tongue, hear it,
Yeah.
listen, take it in, not get defensive, not shut it down, not make me feel crazy.
Yeah.
All the
You have
things
to
that I
coach
feel like I've
yourself in your head.
gotten in the past. And that to me is the most connecting, personally, the most connecting experience that I've had with you that I've never had before, ever in any other
Wow.
relationship.
Not getting defensive is huge,
Sounds
powerful.
special.
Yeah,
we'll
being able to
see.
like give you feedback. First of
Yeah.
all, feel safe enough to give you feedback, and then
Yeah.
also know I'm not going to get it thrown in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
yeah,
I have to walk
used to
the
be
walk.
like that. Like if a part my last boyfriend of 7 years, he would bring something to me, and then I would immediately go. But in my head, I thought I was right. Like I didn't know that this was fucked up. I genuinely didn't know this was fucked up. I'm like, how can you be complaining about anything that I'm doing when you're doing this,
XYZ,
this?
yeah.
And it took me years to understand that that's fucked up. For me to think.
It's so normal.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right?
But it's so unfair, and I was like, how do I not see this as unfair yet?
So many of us, though, like, and I've been really talking about this a lot more recently because I'm realizing it's a thing that I have always struggled with. So many of us equate I have quote unquote done something bad with I am bad.
Right. Shame versus, yeah.
Right. And so it's like almost impossible unless we have a really high level of self awareness.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to separate those two. Right?
Especially if a parent made you feel like you were bad. Oh my
there was
God. Getting
shaming.
feedback is like,
Right.
I'd rather have my skin get peeled off slowly.
Same.
Yeah.
Like just throw me out of the window because I'm over here trying to be as perfect as I possibly can be.
Right.
And now
And if
you're
you
over
point
here
something
telling
out,
me
fuck you.
that I'm not perfect. And I'm like, my whole world is crumbling.
Yes.
Right. My whole egoic self is like, you're not perfect. You're not perfect. You're shitty. You're a horrible person. You're a
Yeah.
horrible, and I'm like panicking and shutting down. Like I tell him whenever we get into like any kind of conflict or arguments, I talk about this with some of my clients, like this is my shutdown mode. This is where my shutdown and my kind of more avoidant happens is like I dissociate. I like leave my body. I feel myself getting hot. I feel myself in my head. My logical brain is going, well, fuck this relationship. Clearly this isn't going to work. Might as well try to find a place to live. Might as like literally this is what's going on.
Maybe
And it
I'm
could be
avoidant.
something
I
like
thought that
yesterday I wanted to tell you what I wanted to eat and you cut me off. I mean, it could be like the simplest feedback.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, fuck this relationship.
Yeah.
Because I'm
going to
just
call you home. I'm going to
defending-
go, yeah.
against like
Yeah.
being quote unquote bad.
Yeah. And it's a
Right.
lot
It's
of
crazy.
mental gymnastics and discipline. Like I love one of the things I love about sports and sports psychology in particular is like the mental dexterity and discipline that you need to do a sport well it's incredible and it shows you like you can do it. You can also apply that exact same discipline to your emotional life and truly fucking get a hold of your emotions. Like I'm someone who needed to get a hold. I had no hold over my I would let them leak out on whoever was there. And I'm like, this is so miserable to be around. I can't imagine. So but it just takes that dexterity and that persistence.
It's a lot of work.
There's nothing more attractive than someone that says, hey, listen, here's how you hurt me. And here was my part in it. So people say, you did this, you did that, blah, blah, blah. I don't like the way you talk to me. And then there's a period after that, or maybe an exclamation mark. But here's what you did. Here's what it did to me. And here's what I'm willing to own. I might have triggered this in you. So that's what I mean by EQ. It's so, because that now it's safe.
Yeah.
So you're not coming at them, you're coming with them.
Right.
And one of the things that we talk about is trying to understand before trying to be understood. If that is playing in your head,
It's my mantra.
if you're going into, she got it from me. If you're going into conversations with that, with that,
Yeah.
the soil's like, it's like emotional milk. The soil's, it's like foreplay.
Yeah.
No one's
yeah.
just going
it's
in trying to
totally
fuck each
foreplay.
other. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, people are. It's just not fun.
yeah. Especially if
Can't
you're,
go down a slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't go down a
In
slide in the
shorts.
heat. Yeah. Sandpaper shorts.
Unless you're wearing baby oil on those
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's also really hard to do because of no one enters adulthood unscarred. We
Yeah.
all have our story.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
a fucking
You know.
therapist, and
And
I'm
we feel-
literally sitting there repeating in my head, try to understand before being understood.
Yeah.
Try to understand before being understood.
Yeah.
Well,
And when
I'm
you
not like,
when you feel a feeling,
out.
it's so hard to not react to it. It's just hard. It's just that's
Yeah, of course.
in the most
Right.
simplest terms. That pit in my stomach.
It's a practice.
My brain is automatically going to go. You gave it to me,
Yep.
and so I'm going to go
Fix it,
When
make
really, no. We got to back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a familiar pit. I've been here before. It's not.
Right.
It's not taking place right now. It's
Right.
old.
Not only that, but here's what I'm willing to own.
Yeah.
That's like the turbo.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like next level shit.
Yeah, it is, but
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah. It's
Damn.
Damn.
Good tools, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. Please get their book. That book is currently out. It's
Yeah.
already out.
Yeah, it's
it's
wide.
good. All right. It's not me. It's you, John, Kim, Vanessa Bennett. If you guys are watching on YouTube, it's a beautiful Smurf blue, as John said before.
No, I said it wasn't.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. It wasn't
That's what I
Smurf blue.
didn't want.
I'm sorry. It does kind of look Smurf blue, but I
Yeah,
like it.
I like the color.
hey, I love the Smurfs.
I was like, to me, I
80s kid. I love the
I
Smurfs.
heard that as yes, and I was like, that's a positive. That's
okay.
that's warm childhood memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. But it's so then what is the blue called? Is there another word?
Electric blue.
Ooh,
Like,
electric blue.
There's a GT
Yeah.
Mustang 2022 Mustang that's
There you go.
I like
it's an electric blue cover.
It's electric.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Is
you
there
for
any
having us.
other things that you want to promote besides your book, your Instagram, your?
I mean, I think you can find him across everything at the Angry Therapist. He's
Your therapist.
smart and branded himself. I'm on Instagram, Vanessa S. Bennett. It was like my private that turned public. And then I guess TikTok, the Coda Yoda.
nice.
Oh yeah. Thank you so
Amazing.
much for talking to us. This has
Thank
been
you
Guys
both.
We Fucked, the anti-slut shaming podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Hey, you fat, bald, dickless fuck.